Ow! Already 9 months old. The prenatal stage of development ends with birth, but it begins 9 months earlier when about 200 million sperms set out on a journey from a woman's vagina, through her uterus, into her fallopian tubes. Many are called, but few are chosen. Some of the sperm don't swim vigorously enough to make any progress, others take a wrong turn and end up in the fallopian tube that does not contain an egg. When all is said and done, only 1 out of every million sperm manages to get close to an egg and then release digestive enzymes that erode the egg's protective outer coating. The moment the first sperm does this, the egg releases a chemical that reseals its coating and keeps all the other sperm from entering. After triumphing over 199,999,999 of its fellow travelers, this single successful sperm sheds its tail and fertilizes the egg. About 12 hours later, the egg merges with the nuclei of the sperm, and the prenatal development of a unique human being begins. Prenatal development. Image with the following description: an electron micrograph shows several sperm heads attached on the rough surface of an egg. This electron micrograph shows several human sperm, one of which is fertilizing an egg. Contrary to what many people think, fertilization does not happen right away. It typically happens 1 to 2 days after intercourse, but can happen as many as 5 days later. That unique human being has a name. The zygote is a fertilized egg that contains genetic material from both the egg and the sperm, and its brief lifetime is called the germinal stage, which is the 2-week period that begins at conception. During this stage, the one-celled zygote divides into 2 cells that then divide into 4 cells that then divide into 8 cells, and so on. By the time an infant is born, its body contains trillions of cells, each of which came from the original zygote. During the germinal stage, the zygote migrates down the fallopian tube and implants itself in the wall of the uterus. This is a difficult journey, and a about half of all zygotes don't complete it, either because they are defective or because they implant themselves in an inhospitable part of the uterus. Male zygotes are especially unlikely to complete this journey, and no one understands why, though several comedians have suggested it's because male zygotes are especially unwilling to stop and ask for directions. The moment the zygote successfully implants itself in the uterine wall, it loses its old name and earns a new one, embryo. The embryonic stage is a period that starts at about the 2nd week after conception and lasts until about the 8th week, see figure 10.1. During this stage, the implanted embryo continues to divide, and its cells begin to differentiate. Although it is only an inch long, the embryo already has arms, legs, and a beating heart. It also has the beginnings of female reproductive organs, and if it is a male embryo, it begins to produce a hormone called testosterone that will masculinize those organs. Image with the following description. 3 photos from left to right shows prenatal development. Figure 10.1 Prenatal development. Humans undergo dramatic changes during the 9 months of prenatal development. These images show an embryo at 30 days, about the size of a poppy seed, an embryo at 8 weeks, about the size of a raspberry, and a fetus at 5 months, about the size of a banana. The first photo shows an embryo with underdeveloped head, body, and limbs. The second photo shows an embryo with partially developed head, body, and limbs, and the third photo shows a fetus with well-developed head, body, and limbs. The embryo doesn't have a lot of time to get used to its new name, however, because at about 9 weeks it becomes a fetus. The fetal stage is a period that lasts from about the 9th week after conception until birth. The fetus has a skeleton and muscles that make it capable of movement. During the fetal stage, brain cells begin to generate axons and dendrites that allow them to communicate with other brain cells. They also begin to undergo a process, described in the neuroscience and behavior chapter, known as myelination, which is the formation of a fatty sheath around the axons of a neuron. Just as plastic sheeting insulates the wires in a kitchen appliance, myelin insulates the neurons in the brain, preventing the leakage of the signals that travel along the axon. Myelination starts during the fetal stage, but it doesn't end until adulthood. The human brain grows rapidly during the fetal period, but unlike the brains of other primates, it does not come close to achieving its adult size. A newborn chimpanzee's brain is nearly 60% of its adult size, but a newborn human's brain is only 25% of its adult size, which is to say that 75% of a human's brain development occurs after birth. Why are humans born with such underdeveloped brains? First, humans have really big heads, and if a newborn baby's head were anywhere close to its adult size, the baby could never pass through its mother's birth canal. Second, one of our species' greatest talents is its ability to adapt to a wide range of novel environments that differ in climate, social structure, and so on. So rather than arriving in the world with a highly developed brain that may or may not meet the requirements of its environment, human beings arrive with underdeveloped brains that do much of their developing within the very environments in which they ultimately must function, thereby gaining the unique capacities that each environment requires. Prenatal environment. The word environment probably makes you think of green fields and blue skies. But the womb is also an environment, and it has a powerful impact on development. Cohen Bullock, 2008, Lynn and Sandman, 2011, Wakwa et al., 2001. Although a woman's bloodstream is separated from the bloodstream of her unborn child by the placenta, many substances can pass through the placenta. The teratogen is any substance that passes from mother to unborn child and impairs development. Image with the following description. A photo of a young girl affected with FAS has thin upper lip, flat ridge under the nose, and short eye openings. This child has some of the telltale facial features associated with fetal alcohol syndrome, FAS short eye openings, a flat mid-face, a flat ridge under the nose, a thin upper lip, and an underdeveloped jaw. Teratogens include the mercury in fish, the lead in water, and the paint dust in air, but the most common teratogens are alcohol and tobacco. Fetal alcohol syndrome, FAS, is a developmental disorder that stems from heavy alcohol use by the mother during pregnancy, and children born with FAS have a variety of brain abnormalities and cognitive deficits. Carmichael Olsen et al., 1997, Strieska et al., 1999. Some studies suggest that light drinking does not harm the fetus, but there is little consensus about how much drinking is light. Warren and Hewitt, 2009. On the other hand, everyone agrees that none is a perfectly safe amount. There is no such debate about tobacco. Mothers who smoke during pregnancy have children who are smaller, more likely to be born prematurely, and more likely to have perceptual and attentional problems in both infancy. Weed et al., 2014, and childhood. Aspai et al., 2011. Wright and Watkinson, 2000. Even secondhand smoke can lead to reduced birth weight and deficits in attention and learning. Megan et al., 1991. Winning et al., 1999. Exactly how dangerous is smoking during pregnancy? Very. Research suggests that smoking during pregnancy increases a woman's odds of having a stillborn child by a whopping 47%. Marifel et al., 2015. The things a pregnant woman and ingests can harm her unborn child, but so too can the things she fails to ingest. Women who don't get enough nutrition during pregnancy have children who are at increased risk for a variety of physical and mental illnesses. Neugebauer et al., 1999, Susser et al., 1999. The prenatal environment is rich with chemicals that affect the unborn child, but it is also rich with information. The fetus can hear its mother's heartbeat, the gastrointestinal sounds associated with her digestion, and her voice. Newborns will suck nibble more vigorously when they hear the sound of their mother's voice than when they hear the voice of a female stranger. Orlov et al., 1984, indicating that even at birth they are already more familiar with the former. Newborns who listen to strangers speaking two languages will suck more vigorously when they hear words from their mother's native language, indicating that they are already familiar with the tempo and rhythm of their mother's speech. Byers-Heinlein et al., 2010. What fetuses hear in the womb even influences the sounds they will ultimately make themselves. French newborns cry with a rising pitch, and German newborns cry with a falling pitch, both mimicking the cadence of their mother's native tongue. Knapp et al., 2009. Clearly, the fetus is listening. Now to the outcomes. What are the 3 stages of prenatal development? What is the adaptive benefit of being born with an underdeveloped brain? How does the uterine environment affect the unborn child? What evidence suggests that the fetus is listening? Infancy and childhood, perceiving, doing, and thinking. Learning outcomes. Describe the evidence suggesting that newborns can see. Explain the 2 rules of motor development. Describe the stages of Piaget's theory of cognitive development. Differentiate between egocentrism and theory of mind. Describe the key skills that allow infants to learn from others. Newborn babies don't look like they can do much more than poop, burp, sleep, and cry. But looks can be deceiving. Infancy is the stage of development that begins at birth and lasts between 18 and 24 months, and in the past few decades, researchers have discovered that much more is going on inside the infant than meets the untrained eye. Perceptual development. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, and other assorted relatives might not stand around the crib and make goofy faces if they realized that the baby can't see them. Newborns have a limited range of vision, and the amount of detail they can see from 20 feet away is roughly equivalent to the amount of detail that you can see from 600 feet away. Banks and Solopatek, 1983. On the other hand, newborns can see things that are 8 to 12 inches away, which just so happens to be the distance between a mother's face and her nursing infant's eyes. How do psychologists know what a newborn can and can't see? Recall from the learning chapter that habituation is the tendency for organisms to respond less intensely to a stimulus each time it is presented. So if a newborn habituates to a stimulus after several presentations, that means he or she must have been able to see it. If newborns are shown an object over and over again, they will stare a lot at first and then less and less each time the object is presented. If the object is then rotated 90 degrees, the newborns will begin staring at it again. Slater et al., 1988, indicating that they noticed the change. Newborns are especially attentive to objects that look like faces. Biro et al., 2014. For example, when newborns in one study were shown moving shapes, see figure 10.2, they tracked the movement with their eyes longer if those shapes had facial features. Johnson et al., 1991, cf. Kwan et al., 2016. Clearly, babies are watching, and what they are watching most closely is us. Image with the following description. An illustration shows different stimuli panels to detect newborns' reaction toward them. Figure 10.2 Infants track social stimuli. Newborns will track the shapes with facial features, left, longer than shapes with scrambled facial features, middle, or no facial features, right. The illustration shows 3 diagrams of a face. The first diagram on the left shows 2 eyes with eyebrows, a nose, and a mouth with an upward curve. The second diagram in the center shows an eye on the top followed by a mouth with a downward curve, an inverted nose, and another eye. Both the eyebrows are present on left and right side of the nose. The third diagram on the right shows a blank face with no features. Motor development. Infants can use their eyes and ears right away, but they have to spend some time learning to use their other parts. Motor development is the emergence of the ability to execute physical actions such as reaching, grasping, crawling,